God here, and welcome to the Gods of Odds, hosted by two of my favorites, Brad Hoiseth and Dave Dabbah.
Welcome to the Gods of Odds. It is week number 11 of your National Football League season. That is Brad Hoiseth over there in beautiful Southern California. I am Dave Dabbah up here in Northern California. We are super excited to be back this week. Last week was our most popular show of the season so far. So thanks for all of your support. The Gods of Odds is absolutely growing at this point. So we do really appreciate that. Now, so much wackiness happened in the National Football League last week. We had the Jekyll and Hyde Tampa Bay Buccaneers showing up finally. And we had all these other things sort of happen, as well as a Thursday night's game, which was just last night. We are recording this podcast on Friday. Brad Hoiseth, how are you doing today, my friend?
Well, it's, Mr. Dabbah, it's been a little bit of a somber week. Of course, you know the news out of the Hoiseth household this week. I had to put my chocolate lab to sleep on Monday. He was due to be 14 yesterday, so a lot of sad feelings around the house this week. But as the week goes on, you get a little bit better. And I look forward to this being my favorite hour of the week so far. So, I'm not picking the game this week, but I recommend everybody go out there and pick the Cleveland Browns. They're playing in the dog pound this week, and say that you're doing it for Rex. How's that?
There we go. And this show is definitely dedicated to Rex for sure. It has been a really bizarre 4 years, I think, for all of us. Certainly a very bizarre 2 weeks, 3 weeks in the world as well, which was Brad sort of capped off yesterday by what we didn't think was possible. Rudy Giuliani actually doing something that would be more embarrassing than what actually happened in the Borat movie. If any of you have seen that, he actually pulled off something even more embarrassing than that. Speaking of the National Football League, though, this New York Jets football team, Brad, what is it going to take? What is the number? I ask this question weekly, but seriously, what is the number that they need to lose by for Adam Gase to actually lose his job at this point?
Well, the interesting thing is, I thought you were going to say is, what is it going to take for them to win? And this week they play the Chargers. So, if there's anybody that can cough up a win, it's Anthony Lynn. But I don't know. Look, the Jets are they looked modestly better, I think, that if I recall, last game they played when they had Joe Flacco quarterback and they nearly won a game. But, this week they get the Chargers, which it's in Los Angeles, and you have that game picked on your schedule, and so I feel like the Jets, maybe they're primed maybe this is their week. I saw a little bit of a drop off in Justin Herbert last week. He's taken a lot of hits with the Chargers, and we'll see what happens this week with your Adam Gase led Jets. But it would seem as if the Gase is probably nearing the end pretty soon.
Yeah. One thing before we get into the games, and I decided to purposely mix things up a little bit this week. This is to Brad's disadvantage. We will let you know who wins. But what I did this week is we got all of our games together, and we put them into a spreadsheet, and then I see what Brad's going to pick, and Brad sees what I'm going to pick. This week, we did something completely different. And this week, I just get to see what Brad's going to pick. Brad has no idea which direction I'm headed this week, Mr. Hoiseth.
Yeah, and I think it might have something to do with the fact that last week I went 4-1 on Dave Dabbah's games. And let's not forget how I got screwed in that Cardinals game when they scored at the end of the game, and then they didn't go for the extra point. Otherwise, I'd have been 5-0. And so I can see why Dabbah is not allowing me to see his games this week.
Yeah, no, and, precisely, that was definitely one of the reasons. And then one of the other reasons as well is, there had been this streak of basically 9 weeks in a row that I received the Jared Goff is terrible text from Brad Hoiseth. Did not happen last week, which was concerning. So I thought, okay, how do I get back at Brad? And, obviously with his success against my picks last week, I was certainly bitter. All right, Mr. Hoiseth. It is time to dive into the top 10 games that we actually believe are worth actually spending some money on this week.
Yeah, and by the way, Jared Goff is still terrible, even though I didn't text you, all right? So, okay, my first game is the Falcons at the Saints. I'm playing the over-under here, which is at 52.5. The big question in this game is how will the offense look in New Orleans without Drew Brees? If early indications mean anything, it's not going to be very good. Jameis Winston took over in the second half last week. There was a huge drop-off. They finished the game with like 237 yards, just 2 of 12 on third downs. Well, now they've announced that Taysom Hill is going to start for the Saints this week. A guy that's been kind of a gimmick, I guess you could say, in the offense ever since he arrived. The good news for New Orleans is that the defense is good. They rush the passer pretty well. Matt Ryan has little to no mobility. The Saints are averaging almost 3.5 sacks per game over the last 3 weeks, which is third in the league. I see a lower scoring game with a lot of field goals. 52.5 seems a little high to me. I say take the under at 52.5. Yeah.
In looking at this game, I'm going to go in the opposite direction, and I'll tell you why. First of all, this Falcons team's played a lot better since Dan Quinn was dismissed. Matt Ryan, I rip on Todd Gurley a lot. He's half the running back he used to be. But they just have this fantastic, receiving core. Matt Ryan is sort of an older version of a far more talented older version of a Jared Goff. And so, certainly capable of putting up 30 points in a game, which is sort of my line of thinking in this particular game. And then I sat back and I said, well, Jameis Winston is gonna start for New Orleans. And I was like, well, maybe what we're really looking at here is 38 points scored, because there's going to be a pick six in this game by Winston and New Orleans. So I think just because Jameis Winston's going to turn the ball over so much in this game, that Atlanta is going to score well over 30 points, and I would go ahead and take the over in this particular one.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of being coy about it. I mean, their latest reports were that it's actually Taysom Hill's going to be the star. I think they might have already given up on Jameis Winston after 2 quarters.
Yeah,
I don't know, but they say he might play a few packages here and there.
Yeah,
they're being a little bit, like I said, they're being a little bit coy about it. I like Sean Payton in these matchups. I just think he kind of rules the day when it comes to coaching matchups in that division. But I think it's hard to expect that there's not going to be a few drop-offs in offensive production for New Orleans. Atlanta's got one of the better young kickers in the league in Young Hui Koo.
Yeah.
And I just think, Matt Ryan has zero mobility. The Saints like to get to the quarterback. I still teams kind of running up and down the field, but not a lot of points. I just thought 52.5 was a little bit high myself.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. So I've got for my first game of the week as Jared Goff and the Rams heading into Tampa to do battle with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brad Hoiseth wrote a fantastic and fantastic baker's dozen this week. in which, Brad, you used one of the best words that could possibly be used to describe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was pillaged. And when I look at this game, I see the Bucs absolutely destroying the Rams. I'm a big fan of Sean McVay. I believe in the Rams offense significantly more than Brad does. I like the defense. But this Jekyll and Hyde Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, I honestly don't know from week to week who's going to show up. But usually what happens with this team is they get on a bit of a run and a streak, and they rattle off 2 or 3 good games in a row. And I see them continuing that sort of trend. Since they won big last week, I think this is another week they're going to win big in. I would go ahead and give up the 4 and take Tampa at home.
I think we're talking about 2 teams that are kind of Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
2 teams that really are very similar. I mean, there's a lot of similarities here. They both have pretty good defenses. They both have offenses that tend to sputter at times. They both have quarterbacks that have no mobility. They both have mediocre running games, and they both have equal talent at wide receiver.
Right.
And so I think they're 2 of the teams that look the most like each other in the entire NFL. And, the Rams have been playing pretty good defense lately, and I just feel like 4 was a lot. It seems like a close game. It seems like a field goal to me. Anything could happen in this one. I'm glad you picked, but I'm going to take the Rams and the Falcons.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Out of the gate, 2 completely different opinions. One opinion is right. The other one is wrong. Who will it be? I like this new thing of you not knowing which direction I'm headed, Brad.
Yeah, I bet you do.
I'm super excited about it. All right, let's move on to your next pick.
All right, I got the Dolphins at the Broncos. The Dolphins are a 3.5 point favorite in Denver. I think I had them ranked like number 6 in the Brad Baker's season this week. I like them a lot. Really good young team. This is 2 teams that are clearly going in opposite directions. The Broncos have lost 3 of the last 4. Dolphins have won 5 straight. You have 2 pretty good defensive teams, but neither one is particularly good against the run. What do both these teams like to do on offense? They both like to throw the ball, so they're not even really going to be able to take advantage of the things that they probably should be doing. I think it's going to come down to tempo. Somebody's going to have to run the ball a little bit. The difference is Denver's a decent running team. Miami's not a very good running team. The Dolphins average just 3.6 yards per carry, which is dead last in the league. I see this being a close game to the end. I like that extra hook of a half point. That gets me to 3.5. And I'm going to take the Broncos. I'm going to take the 3.5 points. I think Miami might win the game, but I think there's a lot of unknowns there with Miami so far with Tua at quarterback. They don't look great offensively to me, but they seem to make enough plays, and their defense is really good. But I like that extra point. I'm going to take the Broncos in the 3.5.
Yeah. Leave it to Brad to pick a Bronco game. I knew that was something he was absolutely going to do when he put his games together. Yes, as everybody knows, big fan of Tua. I will have to say this, slightly disappointed in his performance so far in the National Football League. I know this takes time, so we've got to give him a little bit of time to sort of figure things out. But I expected a little bit more. But maybe those expectations have sort of been ruined by watching Patrick Mahomes sort of jump onto the stage when he had a chance to become the starter and just light things up. Even Joe Burrow's put up solid numbers through the start of his career as well. So just slightly disappointed in Tua's performance. Brad's absolutely right. This Dolphin defense is really a vastly improving defense over last year. Certainly significantly better over the Adam Gase-led version of it. Brad's a big fan of defensive coordinators. And so, you can see him like, oh, Denver, I got to go with Denver in this game. I'm with Brad. I think the Dolphins are going to win. It's that 3.5 hook that scares me, actually. And I'm confident that I think the Dolphins are gonna win this, but I'm not willing to give up the 3.5. I'm going to actually, as much as I don't want to do this, agree with Brad on the Broncos at this point.
Well, here's a couple other factors too. Dolphins are a really young football team. Like you said, it just seems to me like the playbook so far with Tua is pretty vanilla. It's pretty basic. I'm sure they're adding things every week for the kid. But going into Mile High, playing in the altitude with a bunch of young kids that have never done it before, I think it's a tricky situation for a young team. I think they're really good. I like their attitude versus the Cardinals. If you read Brad's Baker's Dozen this week, you saw me take a couple of shots at the Cardinals for, I think, being a little bit immature. Dolphins don't appear to be that way. I think Flores has done a really good job at keeping these kids grounded. I think they're definitely here to stay. They look like they're going to be good for a long time, especially now with New England seeming to kind of be on the backside of their success story. But I'm with you. Yeah, I just think there's a lot of factors there that seem kind of funny. If you watch the results, Miami's won 5 in a row. Denver can't do anything right, and you'd think, well, you got to take Miami, right? But it just seems to me like this is kind of maybe a trap game sort of thing where they can go in there a little bit higher on themselves than they really are and get caught napping. But I still think Miami might win the game, but I like the 3.5.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you on this one and absolutely disagree with you on the next game. I'm sure of it, which is the Dallas Cowboys at the Minnesota Vikings. And the Vikings, which is hard to believe that a team that was 1-5 can actually play a team 4 weeks later and have to give up 7 if you want to pick them. So if you're going to pick the Vikings in this game, you've got to give up a touchdown. That is how bad Vegas thinks the Dallas Cowboys have become. And I think they're absolutely right. I mean, this Viking defense is super young. It is improving in certain areas. As long as they don't take Dallas for granted, this should be at least a 10-point victory for the Vikings in this one. So I look at Brad, who I think is going to go with the Cowboys in this. I don't know. I mean, based on what I've seen in our spreadsheet, I think Brad's going to come out and say he's going to go with the Cowboys. I just want to get you must be crazy to do that. Have you not watched this Cowboy team play over the last couple weeks, Mr. Hoiseth?
No, this was a tough one for me. And, some people even went as far as to pick the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl. I don't know. I mean, can you imagine that, right?
Well, yeah.
The line opened up at like 9.5. It was crazy, and I look at it like this. Yeah, the Vikings are playing much better football, and really, the Vikings could be 6-3. I mean, they've lost a couple games that they really should have won. They should have beaten Seattle. They should have beaten Tennessee. But there's a lot of shouldas and there's a lot of wouldas. And when you have a team that's a shoulda woulda, I don't think they should be a 7-point favorite over just about anybody. And here's the reality of the situation. Even though Dallas's record is terrible, they're still playing for a lot. I mean, they're really only, I don't even know, less than a game out of first place, aren't they? So they have every bit as much to play for, really, as the Vikings do, who are sitting a couple games back, 3 games back the Packers still. So, I think it's a good matchup because I think the Vikings have an opportunity to get a win. I think they will win the game. I have a hard time knowing where the Vikings have come from, believing that they should be a 7-point favorite over anybody. Yeah. And their defense is very young. Andy Dalton is going to be back in the lineup this week for Dallas. Not that Andy Dalton is some great savior that's going to, revive the, Cowboy offense or anything, but I think he does give them some, he gives them some experience. They had a week off. prepare for this game. I do expect, I think, a higher scoring game than maybe some people expect, but I do believe the Vikings will win. I just don't know by how much. I thought 7 was a big line, and I took your Dallas Cowboys. The 7 points.
Watch how I gloss over that portion of this and segue into the, Brad, how long is it going to be before there's a shoulda, woulda hoodie on the Mighty Rip merch store? That's
reminds me about the merch store. What's up with the merch store? People are asking me. The merch store.
Yeah, so the Mighty Rip merch store rolled out its first Gods of Odds hoodie last week. So there's a single Gods of Odds hoodie on the Mighty Rip merch store today. There's a couple other things I think in development as well, including the shoulda woulda hoodie, which Brad Hoiseth has just claimed some fame too. Look, at the end of the day, this game, you'll know how this game's going to go for the Vikings if they start the game actually handing the ball off to Dalvin Cook. If they decide they're going to get cute and try to pass the ball out of the gate, even if they have some success, then where Gary Kubiak's head is as an offensive coordinator, which would be in the wrong place. Even if they ran the ball 3 times and didn't get anywhere, that is how they should actually start this game. Every time this year the Vikings have started passing the ball out of the gate, it has turned into a disaster. This is a game all about time of possession. And one of the reasons the Vikings have played so well over the last couple weeks is they've controlled and won that in a big way. So if they can, sort of keep doing that, then they should be fine, and they should easily beat the Cowboys by 7. I can't wait to text Mr. Hoiseth over the weekend on this one.
I'm hoping that you're right, Dabbah, because on my fantasy football team, I have Josh Allen, who's off, and then I have Drew Brees, who's hurt. So I had to go out and pick up a quarterback this week. I picked up Kirk Cousins. I also picked up Irv Smith. And so I think there's going to be some points in this game.
Hey, Irv Smith a couple weeks ago won me a whopping $8 on FanDuel.
That's right.
Because of his performance. Anyways, Brad, move on.
All right, we're going into my third game. It's the Packers at the Colts. The over-under is 51.5. This game really between Green Bay and Indy is going to be all about tempo. Green Bay would like to make it a track meet. Indianapolis would like to make it a slugfest. The reason is the Packers aren't any good on defense, and the Colts have one of the best defenses in the league. The problem for the Packers is this. Green Bay has played only one good defensive team all season, ended up losing that game 38-10 at Tampa Bay. At the same time, their defense doesn't get many stops against the run. Packers gave up 4.6 yards per carry. Indianapolis would love to run the ball. I just see this being a lower scoring game than the line. It says it's 51.5. I'm going to go the under here. I think the Colts are going to control the tempo at home. I don't know who wins the game, but I just thought 51.5 was a pretty high line.
Yeah, I think if the Colts win the game, then you take the under. That's how you approach this one. If you think the Packers are going to win the game, then I think you take the over. This has a Aaron Rodgers bad game sort of written all over it because of the Colts defense. And I think when I look at this game, I actually think the Colts are going to win this game, and I can't believe I'm saying that. But Phillip Rivers has eased into his early retirement nicely with the Colts, and they're using him and executing him based on what he's actually capable of doing.
Wait, they're executing him?
Yeah, his execution.
That reminds me of a great line one time by who was it? Who was the old coach of the Buccaneers in '76? John McKay.
Oh yeah,
I think it was. And they asked, they were in the middle of their 0-14 season. After one of the games, they lost really badly. And the reporter asked him, he said, Coach, how do you feel about your team's execution today? And he said, I'm all for it, which I thought was one of the great lines ever by a coach.
It is. And John, he was absolutely fantastic. And, he was a great college coach, right? And then he got to Tampa, and he was funny, he was humorous, he was all those things. But it definitely, when it came to coaching professional athletes, it didn't work out so well. But the press conferences, like I've seen old footage of a lot of this, and John McKay was
he was a beauty.
It was absolute beauty. I started to look at this, and while they nobody's gone out and executed Phillip Rivers so far. You just sort of watch him, and his execution with the Colts has improved a lot over the last couple weeks. As long as they're not down by too much, and they're in the game, then I think the Colts can definitely win this game. I'm going with you on this, Brad. I am staking with the under. Okay.
Well, I mean, we've had a quarterback executed. We've had a woulda, coulda, shoulda. We've had a lot of stuff on this show. So, hey, how about the Heater app?
Oh yeah,
the Heater app.
Yeah, the Heater app. One of our favorites. Our good friends over at Heater. After you go ahead and make your all of your picks for the week, all you do is download the Heater app. The beautiful thing about the Heater app is you can put in the exact line and amount of money you put down on it, and then all you have to do is sit back and check your app and receive notifications throughout Sunday and Monday night to see how your performing is. An absolutely must-have for anybody that is how do I put this? Using multiple services to place bets.
There you go.
and we'll leave it at that.
Well, I know that the super fan out there is really excited about that gear from the gear store. She wants a Gods of Odds sweatshirt for the holidays. It's getting cold up there in Minnesota. She needs a Gods of Odds sweatshirt, so I told her we're going to get her one.
There we go. Well, we can definitely ship one out to her for sure. I think there's some Hoiseth versus Dabbah gear potentially hitting the site as well.
Can we put our Super Bowl predictions on there by chance?
Not without running into issues with the National Football League on licensing.
Okay.
So I guess we could say I could say the city of the team or the state. Brad, who did you pick? Let's reset this for everybody. Who is your Super Bowl pick?
Well, I believe it was the Chiefs versus the Saints.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. You kind of put me on the spot. It was a preseason deal that you and I did.
Yeah.
Among things, I took the Detroit Lions to win the so just to show everybody that I have some humility, I took the Detroit Lions to win the NFC North, which obviously is going to turn out to be kind of laughable at this point. But are they in last place still? I think they are. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boy. But anyways, you put me on the spot, and if I recall, I had about 15 seconds to think about it. And I said, well, the Chiefs, they won the Super Bowl. The Saints are always close, so I took those two teams.
So this is what you get with the Gods of Odds. You get flat out honesty about who we pick. Now I believe I picked the Chiefs as well, and I picked the Cowboys. Now if you watch any of the other shows, any of the other betting shows, or you watch any of the other sports, National Football League shows, general sports shows on television, here's what the announcers do on those shows. They give you their Super Bowl pick. And then when it's clear their Super Bowl pick isn't going to be in the playoffs, let alone win the Super Bowl, they switch. And they no longer stick with their Super Bowl pick. Look, the fat lady hasn't sang yet, Brad. That is a terrible division. It is certainly still a possibility for the Dallas Cowboys.
Watch out for the red rifle, baby. Watch out for the red rifle.
Don't poke your eye out, North America. All right. Is it Brad? I think it's my turn to.
I think you're right. Yeah.
It's my turn to throw out a game. Hey, so I've got 3 games to choose from. I'm going to go with the Jets versus Chargers in this game. You are, if you're going to go with Anthony Lynn on this game, this is hard for anybody to swallow, but if you're going to pick Anthony Lynn, the head coach of the Chargers at home in the beautiful new SoFi Stadium, you've got to give up 9.5 points in this one to a vastly, I guess, sort of improving New York Jets team. I mean, look what they almost pulled off against the Patriots last week. I did have to say that. That being said, now you're asking this team to travel across country, go to Los Angeles. You know, that basically means all of the players have to spend time with their head coach, Adam Gase. There is no way I'm taking the Jets in this game. This is a lock at 9.5. The Chargers are absolutely going to take down the Jets by more than 10 in this one.
Well, I don't know.
Brad, seriously, just imagine you've got to go to a stadium, then you got to get on a bus with Adam Gase. You've got, disgruntled coaches. Then you got to get on a plane, and then you got to fly across country, and then you got to get into a hotel room. All along the way, you're getting COVID checked, and then you go to SoFi Stadium, and it's beautiful, and your team is just a mess.
Yeah, I don't know. It's 2 teams that, man, I'd like to like the Chargers. I really would. They just find more ways to lose than just about anybody. The Jets just don't have any talent. But the Jets do play pretty difficult. They play pretty hard on defense. And they haven't lost because of the defense. They've just haven't been able to find anything on offense. And, Sam Darnold is still out, I think, for another week, which means another week of Joe Flacco. They actually looked pretty good in their last game. I don't remember who it was against, but I just remember watching the game and going, Jets actually looks okay. And then they collapsed and lost. So you're looking at the Chargers. What are they, a 2-win team? I mean, how is a 2-win team giving up 9.5 points? I mean, I know that they've had opportunities to win in like 7 of those games, or 8 of them, or all of them. But they just find ways to just self-destruct. And, they're pretty decent offensively, and then they get ahead, and Anthony Lynn just, he puts the brakes on, and he stops Justin Herbert from throwing, and I don't see why anybody would do that because they don't have that great of a running game. I think the Chargers win the game. I just can't give away 9.5 points. I got to take the Jets of all things for 9.5 points, and that's a pretty rugged thing to have to do.
Yeah, I have to sort of jump in here, and because we're all about telling the truth on this show, Brad. We're all about telling the truth. You can't say that the Jets have played well on defense throughout this season. They lost to the Colts 36-7. They lost to the 49ers 31-13. They lost to the Chiefs 35-9. The Dolphins beat them 24-0. Like, I could say more, but I don't have to. They played a little bit better against the Patriots. But to say that the Jets have played well on defense this year is an insult to all defenses around the world.
Dave, you weren't listening. I didn't say they played well. I said they played hard. Okay? There's a big difference there. And hey, look, the Dolphins have scored a bunch of points. They only give up 24 to the Dolphins. I mean, they kept it within. They almost beat the spread against the Chiefs when it was 20. I mean, they're almost going to have Sam Darnold back. I mean, there's renewed optimism in New York is what I'm trying to say, Dave.
That is absolutely fantastic. All right. Let's move on.
Yeah, it's my number 2 game of the week. It's going to be very short and sweet. The Steelers are at the Jags. Steelers are a 10-point favorite. I take the Steelers. How's that? I mean, it goes back to what I said, 5-6 weeks ago. On one side, you got a team that's really, really good, And on the other side, you got a team that's really, really bad. That's all you need to know. You don't need to investigate these things any further. Okay. Well, the Steelers are good. They're hot. They got a great young player in Chase Claypool, which, by the way, Chase Claypool is going to be the Rookie of the Year. He has supplanted Justin Herbert because he's winning football games. But yeah, he's legit.
Yeah, I'm not ready to cast my ballot yet on Rookie of the Year. I've got a couple other players in mind that still have a shot at it. And I'm a huge Herbert guy. Like Claypool has played really well, but there's been games where he hasn't been part of the scheme. It's not his fault. But there certainly have been games where he hasn't been as involved. Look, dude, picking this game should be so unbelievably easy, right?
Right.
It's 10 points. It's the Jaguars at home. It's Pittsburgh. But, here's what happens. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to start this game out sort of sluggish. We're going to be there at halftime, and the Jaguars might be up by a field goal. I'm just saying, like, this is the kind of game the Steelers will have some trouble with for whatever reason. For that reason alone, plus it's fun to pick against Brad Hoiseth, I am going to go ahead and take the Jags in this one. I just think that the Steeler team on the road in Jacksonville, going on the road this year is a different ball game, especially as we get into this last month of all the sort of additional stresses of COVID out there that everybody's sort of dealing with. Jaguars. Look, the Jaguars aren't going to win this game, but they're at least going to cover this spread of 10.
All right, we're going to back up the truck here a little bit, because we're going to go back to that Jets game. I got to get it from you. If the Jets beat Justin Herbert, are you going to be off the Justin Herbert train?
Oh yeah, no, I would be totally fine. Taking a week or two off of Justin Herbert. Look, you can't win the Rookie of the Year award. If you lose to the Jets, that should be like the first prerequisite. Like you have to beat the Jets in order to move forward.
It's not a tough standard, by the way, to beat the Jets. But at some point the kid's going to have to win some games. I mean, I love him. I'm with you. I think he's right there with one of the best young quarterbacks. He just seems like he's years ahead of. Yeah. Not that we've gotten off the Steelers, Jaguars, and talking about the other brilliant young quarterback, Jake Luton, or anything like that. But I just had to move back there. I thought, I want to see what Dabbah has to say here. I want to see if he's going to put his reputation on the line, his fine reputation on Justin Herbert.
I will. I believe in him that much. Look, he's like, what's that? The Red Roof Inns, we'll leave the lights on for you.
No, that's it's not the Red Roof. That's the Motel 6.
No. Yeah, they went through some sort of merger. It was originally Red Roof. Anyways. We'll leave the lights on.
I've never stayed in one, by the way, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, you got quarters for the television.
Right.
Hey, honey, bring me a nickel. CNN's a little blurry. I think like the thing with Justin Herbert is, the light's definitely on. Like his understanding of what's going on in the NFL at this point is light years really ahead of where most rookie quarterbacks are at this stage of their career. And you can sort of just see it, but even last week though, they lost to the Dolphins. Was that a Herbert issue or was that a coaching issue? And I think you and I both know that as bright as a light as Justin Herbert might be, there's clearly a coaching issue in Los Angeles.
I thought you were right up until this week, Dabbah. But before this broadcast is taken, you're going to have to dig up a picture for me, okay? Did you see Justin Herbert's haircut this week? You've got to put it on there during this thing. Okay. You've got to put it. Oh, my God. Wait till you see it. I thought the lights were on until I saw that picture, okay? That's all I'm going to say.
I haven't seen it. I don't know what it is. I will say this: if you're talking about it, then maybe that's why it looks the way it looks.
Yeah, well, you serve salad in a bowl, don't you? I mean, it's let's just say he went from long flowing locks to something that looks like your average dish that goes on your head. So wait till you see that one. You'll love that thing.
All right, we'll definitely we'll post it up for sure. All right.
I think it's is it you or me? I think it's you.
No. What was the? Yeah, it's me. Okay, it's me. Eagles versus Browns. This is another one of those games where the Browns are favored by 3 in honor of Rex. There's no way I'm picking against the Browns this week. By far one of the best National Football League teams in the NFL. I'm going with the dog pound, hands down. And in all seriousness, the Browns should win this game. Kevin Stefanski will do enough with what he has. The running game is back where it needs to be. I just don't see the Eagles doing enough to slow them down along the way.
Yeah, Eagles aren't a very good football team, and even though the Browns I don't think are great, I still think they're pretty good, and they play in an AFC that's much more difficult to win in than the NFC, and in particular the NFC division that the Eagles are in. The Giants beat the Eagles. I played them pretty badly. I think Cleveland kind of needs a win. They got off to a decent start to start the season, and they've kind of seen their hopes kind of sliding. And not that that's unusual. I mean, it is Cleveland.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I got to go with my buddy Rex, and I got to give them 3 points and take the Browns at home in the dog pound.
Yeah. You know what the Eagles are missing is what's the guy's name? Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, they're also missing Nick Foles, by the way.
Don't. Just like everything I've said about Nick Foles in the last 24 months has been entirely accurate. And he'll do. Look, I know he's loved by everybody in the NFL, and I get all of that. And he's a super nice guy, and he did all the things. It's like you say a word, and it's Nick Foles, and I immediately go down the rabbit hole of explaining why Nick Foles shouldn't be in the NFL anymore. Anyways.
Boy, is that a bad offense or what? I watched that game on Monday night against the Vikings, and man, oh man, that is there is a lack of. They're using Cordero Patterson the exact same way the Vikings were using him when the Vikings weren't very good, and I think he's the best running back on the team, Cordero Patterson. After what I saw, but there's just nothing there.
I know, and did you notice we were deep into the fourth quarter, and they had one first down when we were deep into the fourth quarter. And what blows me away is when teams are doing things at the beginning of the game that work, and then they start to move away from those things. It's usually because of the defense makes adjustments. And then they completely go away from those things. This is like a Madden thing. They completely, you completely go away from that thing, but you got to go back to that thing sometimes because they're expecting you not to. And so that is exactly, I didn't understand why they went away from Cordell in the backfield in the third quarter of that game. And there was definitely an opportunity for them to have at least gotten a couple more first downs, in the third quarter. It was it blew me away how bad the coaching was.
That was the one game. I think that was probably maybe my best prognostication of the season. I haven't had a lot of them, but I think I nailed that about as good as you can, because I remember saying that, I took the under. And I said, you're going to see a lot of turnovers. And sure enough, in the first 5 plays of the game, we had 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
And, it was just one of those games that, if Cousins could just make a couple of plays, the Vikings were going to win, because the Bears defense is just or their offense rather, is just not very good. Anyways, let's roll into my number one game. I got the Titans at the Ravens. Probably one of the bigger games of the week in the AFC. The Ravens are a 5-point favorite. Last season, though, remember how that went down in the playoffs last year? Tennessee won in the playoffs when they gave up 530 yards to Baltimore. Yet somehow Baltimore only scored 10 points. And Tennessee won that game 28-10 in the playoffs. In that game, Derrick Henry was pretty much the entire offense, had 195 yards on 30 carries. He even threw a touchdown in that game. The problem for Tennessee this season is that the running game hasn't really been that close to what it was in 2019. And now the best offensive lineman is hurt in Roger Saffold. I think the Ravens, I think they're eager to put that game behind them. They come back and win comfortably and beat Tennessee, a team that really is not playing very good football right now. The Ravens, I think, are anxious to get out and have a good football game. Tennessee, I've lost faith in them. I'm not sure that they're any better than the Seahawks, but I don't think the Seahawks are any good. And so I'm going to take the Ravens. I'm going to give the 5 points.
Yeah, I'm like, where has Derrick Henry gone the last, you bring up some really good points about the offensive line being some key injuries on the Titans front. I think when you look at this game, the teams are definitely in different spots than they were in the, coming into the playoffs last year. And this is sort of a down Ravens team not performing at the level that they were performing at last year. To be honest, and not as many weapons as you would think. Lamar Jackson is, electrifying. That's pretty much it. And I look at this game, and when I analyze it and factor in, all the things you said, this is like one of the harder games for me to actually really sort of get a really good, strong opinion on. With that being said, I just do not trust the Tennessee Titans enough at this point to take them. So I'm going to go ahead and give up the 5 and stick with the Ravens as well.
Yeah, every season or every week, there's something about a team that just sticks out like a sore thumb. And the Titans are just horrendous on third down on defense. They cannot get a stop on third down. And if you can't do that, you can't win in the NFL consistently.
Yeah.
And so, remember at the beginning of the year, we were talking about how Ryan Tannehill had a great QB rating at the beginning of the year, and they were playing well. And it seems like a very, very long time ago at this point. And I think that's a team that is teetering on a slide. I think Seattle was another one until last night that was in the midst of a real downturn for their season. Seattle, I think, got a little fortunate. That was one thing we didn't touch on at the beginning of the show. I was going to say Seattle's maybe the only team in the league other than the Packers that get more calls at home than anybody. I mean, it happened again last night. But anyways, to get off that subject, I get a feeling that both of these teams really need a win here. And I think Baltimore's a more secure pick. I think their defense is pretty darn good. They have Lamar Jackson. They got Mark Andrews at tight end. They seem to make enough plays to win games. Their defense always keeps them in it, but I don't trust that Tennessee defense at all right now.
Yeah. Okay, I am with you on all of that and more. For my number one pick of week number 11. This is the 10th game of our top 10 games worth spending some money on. I have saved for you, the audience, and Mr. Hoiseth, the end of the era football game. And this is the New England Patriots heading into Houston to play against the Texans. For God's sakes, will they get the Oilers' name back already? I'm sorry, I had to say that. It still bothers me that they're not the Houston Oilers because I want to hear the theme song. The Pats versus the Texans. I think this is the game that if the Pats win it, then they're still sort of in the hunt. I think they go back to 500 at that point, and they're not totally dead yet. If they lose it, which they're going to do, then it's the end of the era. It's going to be too difficult of a point for them to come back from. This is 2.5 points if you want to take the Patriots. I think you're going to go with Deshaun Watson in this game. You're going to go with a couple of those playmakers on this Houston Texans team, and the Texans are going to beat. It's one thing you got to if you take the Patriots, you got to give up 2.5. They're going to win this game. The Texans are going to win this game. This is the end of the era game for the New England Patriots.
Romeo Crennel. He's an ex-Patriot, right?
Yeah.
And didn't have a lot of success. By the way, isn't the Miami kid? Wasn't he a Patriot coach? By the way,
yeah, he was.
Brian Flores. He seems to be the only one that's having any success. Just when you think the Patriots are out of it, they pull one out of the hat like they did last week. I mean, that was a miraculous game they really played. I mean, just ran the ball. The other team couldn't stop them. In the driving rain, and Rex Burkhead is catching passes from wide receivers, and everything was happy for 60 minutes in New England, right? I don't know. I'm going to take the old guy in this one. I'm not going with the protege. I'm going with Belichick. I'm going to give those 2.5 points. I don't think the Patriots are going anywhere, but I know the Houston Texans aren't going anywhere, and so that's my logic on it. And so I'm going to give those 2.5. If it was 3.5, I'd probably go the other direction. But hey, it's a field goal. What the hell? I'll flip a coin.
Yeah, look, a couple things. One, Romeo Crennel, at this stage of his career, is too old to be called a protege. It's over for him he's just interim, right? So, nice guy. He's doing a nice job with the Texans. Certainly knows how to coach. He's not the future head coach of the Texans by any stretch of the imagination. The success of Bill Belichick's tree, like Josh McDaniels, I always thought did a nice job in Denver. And I thought he, with what he had been handed, I thought he did a nice job. I mean, he got Tim Tebow to win a playoff game. Genius, genius. Mensa-like to pull that off when you look at his actual, when you look at Tim Tebow's actual skill set for playing in the National Football League. Josh will have another chance to be a head coach, I'm sure, in the NFL, most likely with the Patriots when the brilliant one, Bill Belichick, decides to retire. Brad, look, I saw this absolutely ridiculous thing on television a couple weeks ago. We haven't talked about it at all. You've got my pick on the Texans, but just want to shift to this. And this story was about, where does Bill Belichick go from here? What should Bill Belichick do now? What's keeping Bill Belichick in New England? Why wouldn't Bill Belichick decide to move to Jacksonville, or, where they might actually get the number 1 draft pick and Trevor Lawrence, or decide to move to Houston, where there's Deshaun Watson and lots of other nice pieces, where the organization is a little bit more loaded than they are in New England? I thought this line of, and I'm not going to say who said this, other than to say they were on a certain network that starts with the letter F, and this was their whole line of thinking, and I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I've heard, that Bill Belichick is going to decide to leave New England and go someplace else and coach and try to, just because they have sort of a better roster than the New England Patriots do. Thoughts and opinions?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like he kind of has the keys to the city, right? I mean,
Right.
Success he's had there. He almost got a free pass by Brady, did he not? I mean, because now they can say, well, he doesn't have Brady, and Brady's the greatest of all time, and you got to give him a chance. You got to give him time. He's got to develop somebody. I don't know. I get a sense that Bill Belichick is done when he's done with this tenure in New England. He's not a young man anymore. He doesn't accomplish. It's not like he wants to go somewhere and stick it to Tom Brady and try to win it again with somebody else. They just have a situation in New England where they don't have a lot of talent, and he pretty much said that a couple weeks ago in a post-game interview that it's just not there right now, and so they're mixing and matching his parts, bringing in guys like Cam Newton, and they got like 4 running backs and they got 17 wide receivers, and none of them are really all that good. And the defense is still pretty talented, but I don't see Bill Belichick going anywhere. I mean, why would he? He's probably got the biggest house in town and got keys to the car.
Can you imagine? I mean, just for the sake of the conversation, can you imagine Bill Belichick directing some starving college students and how to load up his U-Haul so he can move to Jacksonville? It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous comment. All right, Mr. Hoiseth, we are coming to the end of our Gods of Odds show for week number 11. Any last parting words that you need to, if you will, get off your chest?
Well, we should probably say this because we probably won't see people until after Thanksgiving. So have a good Thanksgiving. If we don't, obviously, if we don't talk to you, we don't know who the hell you are. People are watching this thing.
Who are you people?
I mean, obviously, but who are you people? Who's crazy enough to us? But no, have a great Thanksgiving and stay safe. Holy cow, people. COVID's pretty bad out there. Give it the respect it deserves so you can all have a nice, comfortable Thanksgiving dinner, and we'll see you on the other side with more picks next week.
Brad, I think as Bob Uecker might say, well, the hell, nobody's listening anyways
Right.
from Major League. Look, I think super excited about this weekend of football. Obviously, we're excited about Thursday's next Thursday's matchups. Do stay safe out there, North America. This is definitely going to be a time where I think doubling down on safety is probably a good idea. So if you are traveling, do it in an extraordinarily safe way if you can.
And go out there, go to the Mighty Rip, read the stories, read Brad Baker's Dozen, and buy yourselves a Christmas gift at the merch store. The Gods of Odds sweatshirt. Doesn't get any better than that, right?
No,
give that to your kid, and they'll say, "What in the hell is that?" Right?
It doesn't really get any better than the Gods of Odds sweatshirt. Look, there's plenty of other things as well. So if you've got basketball fans that like cool, unique gear, you just have to check it out because there really is some really cool stuff on there. So do check it out before stuff sells out.
By the way, what did you think of that Timberwolves first pick there, Mr. Dabbah? I asked my buddies back in Minnesota, they're big basketball fans. I said, is he more like Pooh Richardson or is he more like J.R. Ryder?
Yeah, I'm sure your buddy said J.R. Ryder.
Absolutely.
On that one. I was sort of, I looked at this and I said, if you're drafting number one, who has, and it's sort of close between the top 3 or 4 players. I mean, to be honest, the next Anthony Davis might have been picked by the Warriors at number 2. And so there's that, potential that the T-Wolves will regret that if Wiseman turns into that. And he definitely looks like he's got that kind of potential. The way I would have gone with this, though, is I would have gone with LaMelo Ball. And the reason for that, and the reason for that, hold on. And the reason for that is of all the players in the top 5, he has the most star potential. He has the most, potentially going to be a superstar in the National Basketball Association. That being said, I didn't have a problem with the T-Wolves playing it a little safer. Look, Anthony Edwards is a beast, man. If this kid can stay motivated, and sky's the limit for him. It was definitely a safer pick. He'll be better in his first year. The question is, 2 or 3 years down the road, are we doing what we're doing with Luka Doncic right now, who I said at the time should have been the second pick taken in that draft. So, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right about LaMelo here. And the thing you don't know about LaMelo over there in Southern California, Mr. Hoiseth, the home of the Ball family, by the way, the Big Three brand. The thing you don't know is that this kid is not like his brother. He actually works hard. He's actually in the gym every day. He wants to be great, and that's a huge thing. That you hear a lot of players talk about it, but this kid's actually going to go do it. The last note on this, since he got picked by Charlotte, and yeah, I can't wait to see the one-on-one basketball game between Michael Jordan and LaMelo's father, who once said on national television that he could beat Michael Jordan in a one-on-one game. There's going to be some celebrity charity event where that is actually going to happen down the road. Can't wait for that.
Well, I'm glad to hear he's got a better work ethic than his brothers. I'll never forget when they were all playing on the same high school team and they had the games on TV down here. Yeah. It was so ridiculous to watch. They were averaging, I don't even know the number. It was like 115 points a game. Yeah. A high school team. They beat somebody 146 to something one game. And just watching it barely resembled basketball. They were just throwing the ball up from anywhere. Half court, didn't matter. And so the father's obnoxious. I'm glad the T-Wolves didn't pick him. I just don't need that. I don't need that headache. But
especially in the midst of also ownership change right around the corner with the T-Wolves as well. That always brings a level of uncertainty. But let's face it, you're always trying to pick the next Michael Jordan when you're drafting. And if you had to say, is there anybody in this draft that has any chance of coming within 40% of that, it would have been LaMelo for sure.
Wolves, what out there in the last 20 years hasn't provided a level of uncertainty. This is what is it? Well, how many times have they made the playoffs in the last 2 decades? The interesting thing, at least for me personally on this, and then we got to get out of here. Moving out of Minnesota to Southern California, getting to Southern California in the mid 80s, and having no basketball team in Minnesota except for the college team, knowing the history of the Laker organization where it came from, and then having the Clippers as the other option as a kid to choose from, it was an easy choice to become a Los Angeles Laker fan as a kid. And what was fun was that then the T-Wolves started, and I said, okay, I actually have a chance to be with a franchise from the very beginning. And I'm like, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be a Laker fan. That just means that I'm going to support the T-Wolves as well. This has been a very, very difficult journey to be on with this T-Wolves team. A vastly different journey than the one I'm on with the Los Angeles Lakers. I'll never forget where I was. There's always these things that you never forget in life. Like, you'll never forget where you were when OJ was going down the freeway with his Bronco. And I'll never forget where I was when the earthquake disrupted the World Series game. I'll never forget where I was when the Timberwolves drafted Pooh Richardson. It was brutal. I'll never forget. I almost threw the TV out the window.
So the last thing I'll say on this, and then we absolutely got to get out of here. We got to pay some bills with the Heater app. Is that I'll never forget where I was and the reaction I had when the T-Wolves drafted Stephon Marbury. I was at, and this will take you back a little bit, Brad, because I don't think they're there anymore. But I was at a national sports bar and grill. And it was a small chain in Southern California. I think they had like 5 or 6 of these. And I was at a national sports bar and grill with some coworkers. We were there to watch the draft. Marbury gets drafted. I jump up off of my chair because I'm thinking championship. Yeah, and then, you know, we all know for Marbury to win a championship, he had to go to China for that to happen. All right, that is Brad Hoiseth over there in beautiful Southern California. I am Dave Dabbah for the Gods of Odds. We wish you all an absolutely fantastic rest of your sports week and a tremendous, healthy, and safe Thanksgiving.
God here, and thanks for tuning in to the Gods of Odds. For more semi-witty sports commentary, please make sure you check out Mighty.Rip. Okay, go ahead and kill the music now.